Okie dokie, I believe we are all the way live. Hello and welcome to my graveyard. I am your host of the evening, the Cemetery Man from Salem, Mass. Always taking names and kicking candy ass. I'm going to here with you on Grande's Graveyard. Welcome back to another wonderful, fantabulous edition of Grande's Graveyard. And thank you all for stopping by. Thank you all for tuning in. Of course, AJ Zetro, he's been waiting at the floodgates, and now we're open, baby. General admission is here. West Philadelphia, born and raised on the playground where I spend most of my days, chilling out, relaxing, shooting some b-ball outside of school. I might have missed a verse in there, but I don't know. I'm not as cool as the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but like I like to think of myself as more of a Carlton. I'm definitely more of a Carlton in my own way. I don't know. At least I like to think so. But welcome back, everybody, to another edition of Grande's Graveyard. Super happy to be here tonight. Yes, the babyface himself. I promise no heel turns tonight, Mr. Z. I have no heel turns. We're here tonight, and I had been wanting to do this show for a while. Way back, it might even have been at the beginning of the year or the ending of last year. I did a show called Video Nasty Special. And on that show, I covered I Spit on Your Grave and Possession. Those are two of my favorite Video Nasty movies. And I figured, why not do like a sequel? And I could do a bunch of these because there's 72 of the original Video Nasties, of course, before you get to the third section of the Video Nasties list. And I said, fuck it. I did two the first time. Why don't I pick three this time? And without further ado, we're going to be talking about three films tonight on the Graveyard. Of course, The Cannibal Man, Bloody Moon, and Don't Go in the House. So I'm really excited to cover all these movies. And I will say, first and foremost, I'm not sure if I showed this on the first show, but anybody wants to know anything about Video Nasties, and you know, if you want to see a great documentary discussing the entire story, I highly recommend this set from Severin. This is Video Nasties, the definitive guide. And I just am an absolute mark for this documentary. This is 14 plus hours of horror entertainment. And basically what you have here, it's a 3-disc set. I can open this up and show you all. It's a 3-disc set. Of course, the solo disc on, right here, this is the documentary. And then on the other two discs, you have trailers for all 72 Video Nasties. So that's pretty cool. The trailers for all the movies. And you have interviews from horror experts, horror novelists, any kind of film historian you could ever think of. And they pick a different one for each different film to talk about why the movie was maybe on the Nasties list, maybe talk a little bit about why they liked the film. Of course, they spend longer times in the bigger ones, whether it be Cannibal Holocaust, whether it be A Spit in Your Grave, movies like that. They definitely spend a longer time on the ones that are, obviously more talked about. But this is a great way to explore the entire list, because when we hear Video Nasties, I know a few movies come to mind. Of course, the To Avoid Fainting, Keep Repeating It's Only a Movie, Last House on the Left comes to mind, A Spit in Your Grave comes to mind, Cannibal Holocaust may be the granddaddy of them all when it comes to Video Nasties and having a reputation on the Video Nasties. Zombie, there's a ton. There's absolutely a ton of Nasties that have that reputation. And tonight, I decided to pick three that don't really have that big of a reputation. Whereas I Spit in Your Grave definitely has its fans, and Possession definitely has a big fan base now, bigger fan base now than ever. I figured those were more popular ones. Let me do three lesser talked about ones and give you my 2 cents on those. So I was really excited to do this show here tonight. I guess we're going to crack open a drink and we can get right underway. Of course, everybody, we got a 4-day weekend coming. So everybody, I'm drinking the dew out of a can tonight. Everybody, cheers. I'm going to pop this son bitch open. I know AJ was drinking vanilla cream soda, I believe, just a couple nights ago, and he tagged me in that. So cheers, Mr. Zetro. Cheers to everybody else in the graveyard land. Cheers to a nice 4-day weekend. I'm going to catch up on some sleep, man. I'm definitely due. Oh, man. Cheers with the dew. I'm going to put this over to the side and get of course, the occasional sip. Also, before I get into the meat and potatoes, I'd like to give a shout out to my good friend Xavier Rowe. He hooked me up with this awesome Sleepaway Camp shirt. Check this out. Yes, that is Angela. You won't be coming home. Really cool gift from him. Now, he actually, at the beginning of the year, he had gotten us, we have a small friend group, the bunch of us, and we have this group chat we have. And he actually bought shirts for everybody for New Year's. And of course, COVID was, in its full swing. And then everybody knows how sick I got it towards the end of February, early March. And I didn't see him for a while. And then last night we all went to the bowling alley, and he said, "Bro, this is 8 months overdue." Or 9 months now, because I guess that yesterday was September, the 1st of September. Fucking crazy how time flies. This year has just come and gone really quick. But he handed me this, and I was like, dude, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. My favorite color scheme, one of my favorite film series of all time. So I was super, super excited about that. And I'm color coordinating. I got red on black, and then I've got black on red. You can't beat it. You can't fucking beat it. We're about to get nasty up in this son of a bitch. If you're ready to get nasty, give me a hell yeah. Imagine this is brew. Hell yeah. All right. Let's get underway. Cheers, Mr. Zitro. Thumbs up and a chars. Hell yeah, absolutely, brother. Okay, so first and foremost on this list, I really wanted to get into this movie. I actually think it's probably the best of the three. It's up for debate. These three are definitely close when it comes to a rating wise. But I really enjoy this film, and I have for quite a few years. And I'm glad that Severin recently put out a special edition Blu-ray of this film. And I was super excited when I heard about it. I even went ahead and pre-ordered it. I was so excited about it with this really cool slipcase. And this is Eloy De La Iglesia's film from 1972. This is Cannibal Man. Oh, yeah. The Cannibal Man. Of course, this is a really, really cool edition that Severin put out. Severin does a great job. It's funny. All the shit I have is actually from Severin for the show. This is like a low-key Severin plug show, especially after the bullshit, the Cruel Jaws lawsuits and all the shit they're going through right now. So if somebody needs to be on Severin's side, I'll definitely be that guy. The Cannibal Man. This is, of course, you have a reversible cover art. And that's the VHS cover, which is cool for the, oh shit, I hope I don't get flagged for that. I showed a Yeti. Nobody flagged me for that. I'm sorry. But this is the VHS cover of it. Really, really cool stuff, I think. Because when you own Video Nasties, it's just like almost a novelty to have the VHS cover in some way be a part of this. And it's cool that they have that as a reversible sleeve option for this. But the Cannibal Man. Now I can read a little plot synopsis here. A meat factory worker accidentally kills a taxi driver and begins to gradually kill people close to him in order to cover up his original crime, and starts to get rid of the mounting corpses stored in his bedroom through his day job. Yes, the Cannibal Man. Now, yeah, I know. I did not mean to show that yet, so I hope I don't get in trouble for that. But Cannibal Man. I will never forget the first time I saw this movie. This was actually, I had watched this for the first time in preparation for a cannibal special I did a while back. I actually did a show where I talked about all the movies with the word cannibal in it on the Video Nasties list. You know, pieces of shit like Cannibal Terror, and then masterpieces like Cannibal Holocaust, really, really solid movies like Cannibal Ferox, Cannibal Apocalypse. And this was the only one of those bunch that I hadn't seen up until that point. This was the Cannibal Man. And I was like, the Cannibal Man, that sounds like an interesting, what is this about? Now, if you're going into this thinking Cannibal Ferox, Cannibal Apocalypse, Cannibal Holocaust, you're going to be sorely disappointed. This is not your straight, quote unquote, cannibal film. This is more of like a character study / slasher film. And the original title, actually released in Spain, was The Week of the Killer. And that's really the title that fits this movie better as opposed to Cannibal Man, because we'll get into what cannibalism is in this movie. It's very incidental cannibalism, but we'll get there. Now, this is a really cool little movie, I think. And it basically tells the story of our lead character played by Vincent Parra, who was a pretty prolific actor before this. And he was a pretty big star to do a movie like this. And so kudos to him for doing this. He and his girlfriend comes from a wealthy family, whereas he comes from more of a poor family. They're dating. They're out and about one night. They're getting, driven home by this cab driver. They're making out in the back seat, and the cab driver's having none of that. You won't be fucking in my back seat. Get out of my taxi, and you're going to pay me. Well, they get into blows. He actually smacks Vincent Parra's woman, and then Vincent Parra takes a big rock and just smashes the taxi driver in the head, and accidentally causes this man to die. And then the rest of this movie is basically our lead character trying to cover up each murder that he's committed with another murder. So his girlfriend says, listen, we have to go to the police. We have to go to the cops about this. And he's saying, listen, you come from a rich family. I come from nothing. I come from poor, absolute garbage family. they're not going to take my word over this. If anything, they're going to turn against me, and I'm going to have to spend time in jail. I don't want to do this. So they're kind of coming together on blows. And basically what happens is, in a fit of rage after she calls him out, he kills his girlfriend. And then, of course, one person goes looking for her, and so on and so forth. So that's how you build the body count in this film. Now, it's not a gratuitously violent film, although there are some good practical effects. There's a good neck slice in here. There's a lot of the kills are choking or being bludgeoned. There's a good meat cleaver kill, of course, in this movie, of course, on the fucking slipcover here. But I think this one has so much more to it. In a lot of ways, this is like almost a drama film. And I really, really appreciate the tones that Eloy De La Iglesia brought to this movie. And our lead character, he's actually friends with this guy who lives in this apartment building right across the street from him. He befriends him, and they talk every night and have these nice little heart-to-hearts. And you get the idea that this character across the street may just be gay. And they're talking, and you don't think much of it at first. But as the film goes on, they start to spend more time together, and you see that maybe the neighbor is taking a liking to him. Now, this is a weird kind of thing to throw into a character study / slasher film from around this time, especially early 70s. This is stuff that you don't, I mean, this is almost a 50-year-old film. It's actually crazy to think about. But it was very much ahead of its time in that way, I think. Of course, he's talking some sense to him, and he doesn't know what's happening. At least we're led to believe that. But I really like that character dynamic in there, and I like their interactions with one another. And there's this great scene where they go in the pool together and they have a good time. And it's really our lead character. He's been faced with all this, horrible shit going on, and all of these murders that he has to commit, and all of these people coming in and out of his life telling him what he should do and as opposed to what he's doing. And I really like the turmoil our lead character faces, because even though, he's not a redeemable character, he's not a character that you feel necessarily sympathetic for, you also at the same time, you kind of understand what he's going through, because you hear what he's coming from. You're like, holy shit, like this guy's poor. This guy is going to get in trouble. And because he kind of started this inadvertent snowball effect, he's pretty much paddling up shit's creek the rest of this movie, trying to get rid of the body parts through this slaughter factory. Now, there are reasons why I think this is a video nasty. First and foremost, there are 2 cuts of this film on this Blu-ray, the extended cut, which I would probably prefer. And then there's the international cut. The international cut, actually, in the beginning of the film, the opening shot is at a slaughterhouse, and they're basically taking apart cows. They're like, gutting cows and shit. Of course, the cows are already dead, but it's pretty gross to see. And part of me thinks that the people from, the BBC that, I think it was is it the BBC? I always forget the British, the BBFC, I'm sorry, the BBFC that banned this movie. Part of me thinks they watched the opening 5 minutes of this movie, saw that, and saw that the American title was Cannibal Man, and in similar vein to Cannibal Holocaust, Cannibal Ferox, etc. That's a video nasty. Put it right on the list. I don't really think that this belongs on the list aside from that. And if you do watch the extended cut, that's cut out of the film. So if you're one of those people that you have a hard time seeing animal blood or animal cruelty, granted, the animal's already dead. I definitely think you should watch the extended cut if that sort of thing bothers you. And that's the only scene in the film where any of that happens. I'm not even sure really why that's put in there. It's almost like, it feels like stock footage where they were just like, throw this in there to shock people and give it a reputation. And maybe it did, maybe it did. I don't really know, to be honest, whose call that was, but it's very unnecessary. It's very unneeded. I definitely think you should watch the extended cut of these 2 if you're going to watch one. But I think this movie, where it stands out is its story, its performances, its mood. It's a really beautiful looking film. I really like how Iglesia, he directed this movie. This Blu-ray just sparkles off the screen. Spain, the area of Spain, it's more of a slum for most of the part of it, so you can kind of see the slums of Spain, and it's a different vibe to it, because when we get into this movie, Bloody Moon, you see more of a happier part of Spain, a nicer part of Spain. But with this film, you know, you really do see the grit and the slum of Spain, and I like that personally. You see these kids playing soccer in just this open dirt field, and you get a sense of the rich versus the poor with these giant apartment buildings, and then our lead characters literally in this sweat box apartment hoarding dead bodies, and of course everyone who comes in, oh, it smells horrible in here. Of course, it's the dead bodies. Um, I think that's brilliant. And the number one thing I thought that was the most brilliant about this movie was the ending. And there's a scene where the Cannibal Man, he's invited to hang out with the gay character. And the gay character says, hey, come up to my apartment. We'll have a drink tonight. And, you know, he's just had a rough week. And he comes up there, they're drinking together. And he says, hey, you want to see something? And he goes, sure. He goes, take a look at my binoculars. And he's looking out on the patio, and he can see into his own house, and you can see the dead bodies that he's hoarding in this back room. And he looks and realizes that he knows that the gay character this entire time knows what he's been doing. He knows he's been killing and hoarding these bodies in his sweatbox house. And so instantly his feeling is, I need to kill this character. He breaks the bottle and he goes towards the character's throat. And the character, he doesn't do a thing. He doesn't resist. He doesn't try to talk him out of it. He sits there completely cool as a cucumber. And the lead, Vincent Parra, he's shocked by this. He goes, you're not afraid? I mean, fear is something I could smell off of people, but you weren't afraid. Why? And I think it's through the gay character's submission and the fact that he didn't try to tell him what to do and didn't resist. I think that in a way, it's almost like a social commentary on our killer having to come out of the closet about the murders he's committed. Here's a guy that across the street, he is out of a closet. It's not an easy thing to do, but he's out of the closet. And it's okay to be in a rich society and be gay and all these things. And I like those. I think that's really ahead of its time shit. But our lead character, he has to face the music of coming out about the secrets and killings he's been committing. And it's in that moment where he realizes, I have to turn myself in. I've done some horrible things and it's time to face the music. And the final shot of the film, it's our lead character on the telephone calling and, listen, I've killed a bunch of people. I'll be waiting outside my house. And, you know, Iglesia, he does this great pan out shot, this great blue night, and the film kind of just ends. And I don't know. I think the world of this movie, I really, really enjoy it. I think it's really well directed. It's really well acted. It's not, I think, something that people expect going in, because you hear that title, you can think all sorts of things, you know, and especially people, I think, possibly watch this thinking, oh, another Cannibal Ferox maybe, oh, another Cannibal Holocaust. It's nothing like those movies. In a lot of ways, calling it Cannibal Man hurts it a little bit because people go in expecting one thing and then they're immediately given another. And I think that can immediately turn somebody's stomach. Oh, I was expecting, you know, some crazy cannibal shit, Mountain of the Cannibal God. And then I got this character study with all these social commentaries in there. I'm not so sure how I feel about this. And I could totally understand that. I really do. But in a lot of ways, I had the reverse reaction to that. I really liked going into this thinking one thing and getting something completely different. I think this is a movie that was really, really well ahead of its time. And I think that it's such a shame that the director really didn't go on to do too many films. Eloy De La Iglesia, he made a few films after this, and then he made a film called, I think, El Pico. And El Pico was this kind of youth coming of age story about these kids, and they got into heroin. And he made a sequel to it, El Pico 2. But unfortunately, in making a film about heroin addiction, our director, Eloy De La Iglesia, he actually became addicted to heroin and fell into a really deep, dark depression and actually was evicted from his home. And one of his nearest, dearest friends one day told the sad story of seeing him actually in front of a traffic light trying to sell Kleenex to people so he could, you know, stay in a motel for the night. And his friend said, Eloy, get in the car. And of course, he got in the car and they drove him to a rehab where his closest friends and family, they paid for his rehab. Really, you know, heartbreaking stuff to see a guy that I think had a lot of talent. And Severin actually did this cool special pack, including, I think, 2 or 3 of his movies, other movies in this. This one got its own release. But when Severin does their next sale, I'm definitely going to get more stuff from him because I think he was a really talented guy. And, you know, he actually himself was gay and he actually himself was, you know, into all these different things. But I definitely think he had an interesting voice to say. And I think he had an interesting take on cinema. And it's a shame that we didn't get more from him. But I'm glad to hear that he did actually recover and he came over the addiction. But unfortunately, the toll it took on his body caused him to die a premature death. So that was really a shame. But he did get to come back and direct another film. So I thought that was really nice. I don't know, man. I just really, something about this movie really spoke to me. I just thought it was really, really smart and really, really different. And I can understand if you're a video nasty guy, you know, if you want to see your Bloody Moons, your Evil Deads, your, you know, more notorious gory films. This may not be for you. This is more of a psychological experiment on somebody who absolutely hits a brick wall, and then all these social commentaries. And I think it's the total package. It really has everything. The kills are good, the atmosphere is good, the look of the film is fantastic, acting. I think this is a really one of the total packages on the Video Nasties list, and arguably the most underrated nasty out there. I really highly recommend the Cannibal Man to any and everybody. I think it's an awesome film. Let's see. Oh, man. Let's go back up. We missed quite a few comments here. James Moss is in the house. James Moss, how are you, good brother? Hope all is well with you tonight, man. You ready for the 4-day weekend? They should leave horror movies alone. Who should leave horror movies alone? Cool Tales from the Dark Side. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Video Nasty sucks and they should burn in hell. Really? You know, you're not a Video Nasties guy? I definitely, there's quite a few Video Nasties I enjoy. There's quite a few shitty ones too, but there's quite a few I enjoy. I remember blind buying this years ago and being disappointed. Traded it. Wish I would have kept it. Yeah, you know, I can totally see why somebody would watch this and be bored. Because, like, okay, if I went into Cannibal Ferox, you know, and then got this, I might be like, well, what the fuck? You know, I want to see Giovanni Lamberto Radici snorting cocaine and fucking getting his dick chopped off and all this crazy shit that comes with the price of admission if you go to see Make Them Die Slowly, aka Cannibal Ferox. But I think that this movie is so much more deeper than most of the nasty films, dare I say. Definitely any of the Cannibal Holocaust definitely has deep meaning to it too. So I don't know if I'd go that far, but I definitely think this is an underrated one. I like the director's style, and I was heartbroken to hear all this backstory stuff about him and, you know, how much with addiction he struggled. He was a guy that struggled. And I think it was interesting that, you know, he was gay in real life and then throws this social commentary in there, but it never gets in the way of the film being entertaining on its own two legs. And it always, I think, added a little bit more something to this. Instead of a character coming about sexuality, this is your character having to come out of the closet about being a killer. And it's a hard, bitter pill to swallow, but our lead character has to in order to, you know, free himself of the guilt. I will check out Cannibal Man. Please do. It's free on Amazon Prime, I believe, and maybe elsewhere. I'm not sure. Brit is in the hazy. British Knights. Hearts. Oh, hearts for me. Thank you. I appreciate that. Dope cover. Never saw that film, but I want to now. Making it sound very good. It's free. I believe all three of these are free to watch either on Amazon Prime or Tubi. That we'll be talking about tonight. So I highly recommend. I think it's anybody that likes character study films, like if you like American Psycho, if you're fans of movies like that, I think this is a really good one to check out. I highly recommend this. I think this Blu-ray is phenomenal from Severin. Like the transfer of this is actually unreal. Like it looks so much fucking better than the standard edition of this. I don't know. Personally, I'm a big fan of Cannibal Man. I highly recommend it. I will say, don't go into this thinking, you know, cannibalism, because it's funny, the only cannibalism that happens in this film and what I think happened here, this is just a theory. I think whoever the American distributors that released this film were, I think they saw this and said, we can't release this as Week of the Killer. That's generic. It's generic sounding. If we put the name Cannibal on it, maybe somehow it will gain traction. And they did apparently do this where they tried marketing the film both ways, and wouldn't you know it, Cannibal Man sold a lot better than Week of the Killer. Now, the only cannibalism that happens in this film, of course, I was discussing, he takes the bodies and puts them in this meat grinder there he works at. There's one scene where he's at this diner, he's eating this local diner that he stops at a lot. This woman goes, hey, look, you know, we got you this, you know, meat soup and we use the meat from your factory. And it's inadvertent cannibalism, but because he's been eating what he's been, you know, disposing of. I thought that was smart. And then, of course, the distributors were like, fuck it, he's a cannibal. Throw it on there. Sell it. You're selling it. You're selling it, of course. And I thought that was really smart. I was like, it's a fucking lie. This is not a cannibal film by any means necessary. And I think that turns a lot of stomachs. I think a lot of people just go, oh, fuck that. I'm not interested then. I think if you're a slasher fan, I think if you're a character study fan, I think if you're an American Psycho fan, I think you will enjoy this movie. That's just me. I don't know. I just think a lot of people just see this expecting one thing, get another, and get pissed. Whereas I had the opposite. I was like super excited about it when I saw this. I was like, wow, like something different with social commentary. And it didn't impact the film in a negative way. If anything, it was so subtle and it let me draw my own conclusion because everybody kind of pushed away, don't kill me, or if you don't do this, I'll leave you, or if you don't do that, I'll beat the shit out of you, all these things, all these threats, all these cryptic threats that leads our character to commit the murders he commits. Of course, the one person that just sits there cool, calm, and collected, that's the person that gets away. I think that's really cool. I don't know. I really like this movie. Different, but in my opinion, a very, very good different. I really love The Cannibal Man. This is probably an 8.5 out of 10 for me. I really enjoy this film. I watched the dubbed version. I'm sorry. No, I watched the subbed version. I watched the subtitled version. Fantastic performances. I really, really enjoy this one. Highly recommend. If you can give this one a look, totally do. Cannibal Man, excellent film. 8.5 out of 10 for me. Let's see. The DVD that I ordered on Amazon came in today. 1992 film Highway to Hell. Is that Christy Swanson and oh god, what's the other guys? I know Gilbert Gottfried's in. I believe Highway to Hell. It's one of and CJ Graham plays the cop. That's such a fun fucking cult film, man. I love that movie. I'll never forget the first time I watched it. I was a kid, and I just had a great time. I think all the Stillers were in it. I think Jerry Stiller was in it. God rest his soul. Ben Stiller. I think all the Stiller family's in that. If that's the same film, that's a really, really good one. I love Highway to Hell. And, of course, C.J. Graham, Jason alumni, can't beat it. I like Bloody Good horror movie. Well, it's funny you talking about Bloody Good because next we're going to be talking about Bloody Moon. Yes, hearts all around, dude. The NFL season is next week. Yeah, man, kick off. I got my fantasy draft on Saturday. I don't know if you do fantasy football, but I'm super excited. Oy, yeah, can't lie. It sounds awesome as fuck. Yeah, no, I think everyone would like this movie. Like, Cannibal Man is really, really good. Just know what you're getting yourself into. I almost wish they hadn't sold it the way they did, but in a lot of ways, that's sometimes how marketing goes. Sell it as one thing, deliver another, you're going to rub some people the wrong way, and understandably so. But I don't know. It rubbed me the right way. I don't know how else to explain it. But moving on, of course, Mr. James Moss said, I like Bloody Good horror movie. That brings us to our next movie. That brings us to 1981's slasher effort. Yes, the year of the slasher. We've got another slasher to talk about. This is from one of my favorite all-time filmmakers and another guy I sorely miss. It's such a shame that this guy's gone, even though he did live a long life. But this is from the twisted, bizarre, sleazy mind of Mr. Jess Franco. This is Bloody Moon. Yes, Bloody Moon from 1981. The plot synopsis on IMDb is literally like 5 words, which is actually kind of funny. I can even they won't give a good plot synopsis, so I might as well just tell you. This is the story of this deranged person who is released from a psycho ward by his sister, of course, 5 years after committing a murder. And then we are set up with these girls who are going to a Spanish-speaking language school. And one by one, they are picked off by a mystery assailant. Bloody Moon, Jess Franco. Now, this is such an oddball in Jess Franco's filmography, because if you know anything about Jess Franco was super into Euro sleaze, cult movies, and, he really was all about sleaze and softcore and shit like that. And like, whether it be films like Eugenie, which is this film about this girl who she goes to this island, she's alone and all these things, and she's kind of introduced to all these crazy like sexual encounters, and it's a fucking wild movie. Eugenie is fucking crazy. Of course, Vampire Lesbos, which is a fucking classic in my opinion. He worked with so many notorious, Spain actresses from Spain and just so many beautiful women in his career. And he's mainly known for films like that. Of course, women in prison movies, stuff like that. Jess Franco was, one of the great horror auteurs when it comes to Eurosleaze. That's why we all love Jess Franco. I mean, the guy was great. And basically his producers came to him in late 1980 and said, Jess, look at what these movies are selling. Look at all the money these slasher movies are making, whether it be Friday the 13th the year before this, whether it be Halloween in 1978, whether it be Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Black Christmas, you name it. Bloody Moon was the producer's idea for Jess Franco. Join on the slasher train. Try it. Why not? Because if you think about it, a Euro sleaze director should be able to make a good slasher movie, right? Because the formula, it's boobs, it's blood, it's mayhem. And then what's a sleazy, movie? Oh, it's boobs, it's a little out of mayhem, not as much blood, but basically just throw some gore in there, and we might just pull out a slasher gem. So the producers approached Jess Franco. Jess Franco originally was against it. He said, listen, I'm not comfortable doing this. This is not my territory. This is not my court. But they said, listen, it's going to be a hit. Your name alone will sell this. Give it a shot. Now, this is probably a run-of-the-mill slasher movie if it wasn't for Jess Franco. I'll say that right off the bat. I really think that a lot of the characters, they're kind of but I think what's great about Jess Franco is he has a lot of fun with this. There's a lot of scenes where Jess Franco will be building tension. There's one great scene where our lead actress, she's preparing to get in the shower. She has this music going. She has the towel wrapped around. Of course, Jess Franco, not a stranger of showing some skin, and that's why we love Jess Franco. But he's kind of sets you up ABC, works you ABC. Oh, something's going to happen. Oh, the music is playing. Oh, the water is running. Oh, the old cliche of wiping the fog off the mirror and seeing somebody behind. He works you A, B, and C. And then we see this shadow at the door of just giant silhouette. And you're like, oh, shit, something's going to happen. She opens the door, and it's like a kid selling cookies. Oh, hey, do you want to buy some cookies? Sure. Buys it, and the scene cuts. The scene ends. I almost think it's Jess Franco's commentary on making fun of slasher movies and almost not belittling them, but saying it's kind of ridiculous. It's kind of repetitive. It's kind of predictable to work somebody all these ways. And ABC, well, if A, B, and C were true, of course, D, the person's going to get killed, right? I mean, that's obviously the line, but he just goes ABC, cut. I think that was really smart. I like that. And Jess Franco intends for that in this film. But when he has to execute on the kills, he does a really, really well job at that. There's a scene where this woman, she's getting ready to go out on a date, and she's fixing herself in the mirror, and then she kind of turns. She had her bag on the bed. She turns, and then when she turns back, the killer's right there. Bam! Stabs her right through the yit, with a fucking pole. And she just goes down on the bed. And you get Jess Franco galore. I mean, you got yits, you've got death, all this craziness. And it's funny because even though this is known for being sort of a gore film, Jess Franco wasn't a fan of gore. He actually, was not a fan at all of it. He completely denounced gore. And then, of course, go make this gore movie. Oh, well, shit, I don't want to. Well, bring your own style to it. Of course, I like sleaze. I don't like gore. Let's mix them together. At least we have one positive and one negative mixed together. And it somehow works as like a double whammy and becomes this really, really well done slasher movie kill. I really like it. Of course, the most famous one on the cover here, this power saw scene where the setup for this is fucking hilarious. This girl, she's in the car with this masked man, right? She has no problem with it. She's like, I don't even know what she would look like. Like, it's very generic. And she lets him like tie her down to this like cinder block thing. And she's like, ooh, you like it rough, huh? Like, and I'm sitting here just like bawling. I'm like, yo, who the fuck would let this happen? Like, being tied to a bed, all right, that's like, I could see that. Being tied to a fucking industrial cinder block outside in the middle of nowhere, like, what the fuck? That's kink at a different level, dude. So, of course, the killer, he gets this giant power saw running, and almost in James Bond fashion, it's slowly moving towards her, and she's freaking out. Really cool. Really, really cool stuff as it kind of like slowly goes to it, and all of a sudden she's saved. And you're like, oh, man, this little kid comes out of nowhere and stops the machine, and you're like, oh, my God, like, that would have been crazy. Of course, the killer stuck around to wait and see, and, of course, starts it again, and you get this crazy gory decapitation where you can almost taste the blood. And again, even though it's against Jess Franco principle, it's against Jess Franco, belief. I think it worked here really well because of his direction. Once again, you worked ABC to believe, okay, this is just going to be like something like in City of the Living Dead, where there'd be the Giovanni Lamberto Radici, the drill scene, where you slowly wait for it to get him, or whether it be another Fulci film in Zombie, where you slowly wait for the eye puncture. It does that. It works. You're lulled into that sense of belief of, oh my God, she's safe. This kid saved her just in time. Thank God. Psych, just skips a letter and then, executes the kill. Really, really good stuff. I love Jess Franco. I think he really is the reason this movie is as good as it is. Now, where this movie does suffer from slightly is the characters. It's very generic with the characters. There are some funny lines. Like, they make no qualms about like being whores, the women in this film. They're like, oh, you see this gardener guy? We fucked him like 7 times. You're just like, what the fuck? Like, who openly fucking says that? Like 5 women at once are like, yo, yeah, we all banged him, bro. You should try to sleep with him. I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, very weird. There's also some fucking, of course, only Jess Franco, he brings in an incestuous angle into this movie. Of course, I was discussing the opening kill where, this guy, and then he's sent to the asylum, released by his sister. They have a thing going on. Of course, before there, 5 years, they were having a thing going on. And then all these years later, brother and sister are still banging. So Jess Franco says, I don't want to do your fucking slasher movie. I'll put incest in it, motherfuckers. Only Jess. But even here, somehow, it has a charm to it where you're just like, good God. Like, this guy was a crazy fuck. What a crazy guy Jess Franco was. And it's part of me is happy that he tried to go out of his norm, because, like, if you're a fan of Jess Franco cinema, and then you hear, oh, well, Jess Franco made a slasher film. Oh, and it's on the Video Nasties list. You're like, wait, what? Like, I want to see that movie right now. And it begs the question as to why porn directors don't make more slasher films. Like, it really is baffling, because you have all the elements in both. I mean, excluding blood in porn, but all the other elements are there. I mean, it's 90 minutes. It's quick entertainment. It's designed for you to have a good time. I mean, porn, slasher, it's not too different. It's not apples and oranges. It's fairly close. It's an orange and a clementine. It's very fucking close. It's in the same fucking family, to me, in my opinion. And we've seen, people that have made porn films go on to make great slasher films, whether it be Danny Steinman when he made Friday the 13th Part 5, or Savage Streets, which is a great rape revenge film with starring Lyndon Blair, or whether it be Gregory Dark, who made See No Evil. Everybody remembers the WWE horror movie, the slasher movie starring Kane. The person who made that was previously a porn director, Gregory Dark. Of course, Rolf Knipsey, who's fucking, of course, known for Nightmare Man. Of course, before then, made some fucking pornos. So I just think it's a great, valley to explore for a porn filmmaker going into the slasher movie world. And what better year than 1981 for this to come out? I just think that's really, really cool stuff. I do think that it does leave a little bit to be desired. I'm not going to say this is a perfect film. I'm not going to say this is a film for everybody. The music in it is bizarre. And Jess Franco said, I quote this, I hate the fucking music in that movie, because basically the musical composer, he came to him and said, hey man, I'm looking for a Pink Floyd feel. And Jess Franco was like, I fucking love Pink Floyd. Do it. And basically, he just completely swung and missed on that with the Pink Floyd feel. Really bad. I mean, the music in this is very fucking odd. It's like this weird Dutch, like, it's trying to be upbeat. It's just off. Like, it's very off. Like, there's so many great slasher movies from this time that had good scores, whether it be Madman, the song in Madman, or The Burning by Rick Wakeman, or any of the Manfredini Friday the 13th movies. But the score in this really hurts it. It really hurts it, I think. This movie doesn't have much of an atmosphere. It doesn't have much of a mood. These things really are lacking, the scare elements. There's not a point in this movie where you'll be scared. But I do think, for what it's worth, I think this is a fun 90 minutes or so. I think this is a fun time. I think Jess Franco brings everything that he could to a movie that he really didn't want to make. And it's funny, the 2 movies that Jess Franco have on the Video Nasties list, whether it be this or The Devil Hunter, he pretty much wasn't a fan of either. He wasn't really a big fan of either movie. And he, after made this film, he went to the producers and said, listen, I tried it your way. I didn't really enjoy making a slasher movie. I enjoyed that I tried it, but from now on, let me call the shots. You spend the money, I'll call the shots. And pretty much they all lived happily ever after. But I just think it's really interesting step in Jess Franco's career is Bloody Moon. It's a definitely an interesting movie from the year of the slasher, and I highly recommend anybody give this a watch that hasn't checked this out because I really like Bloody Moon. So Bloody Moon, I'm gonna come in with like a 6 out of 10 on this one, slightly above average. I highly recommend. It's mostly for Jess Franco. If you like Jess Franco, I highly recommend Bloody Moon. We got some comments in the Heezy. JP's in the house. Dude, you're going to be excited about the next movie. I don't know if you're still here, but Patsy is the star of the next movie we'll be discussing. Mr. Dan Grimaldi himself. We hear, hell yeah, I will check out Bloody Moon. Yeah, no, it's definitely an interesting watch. It's free on Tubi if anybody would like to watch. Interesting choices by the filmmaker. That definitely sounds different. Great description of that film, too. I like the choice to make fun of the slasher genre. Yeah, you know, I think it sometimes could become almost too cliche. And then I think also there are times where filmmakers, they go too far in making fun of it, where it's a comedy. Like even though I like that scene and I think it's fun that you build tension only to, you give a kind of a flat, oh, cut the scene, moving on. When he's trying to execute the kills, they work. That's the difference, I think. You know, and working me all these different ways and playing with my expectations. Because as slasher movies, they are very formulaic films. They really are. But when you throw me a curveball, when I think I'm going to get a fastball, it can work all that much better because I'm dead set on that fastball. Whoa, you threw me that curveball. It's even more of an impactful statement on that curveball to me. And that's why I really think Jess Franco was a cool choice to direct this movie. I think he did a really, really good job. I don't know. I always thought, man, I want to watch Bloody Moon just because Jess Franco make a video nasty. Like, what the fuck? Like, from Vampires and Lesbos all the way 10 years later to fucking Bloody Moon. Very odd turnaround, but I like it. I personally, I thought the world of Jess Franco. May he rest in peace. I thought he was a really, really awesome filmmaker. I'd like to collect more of his films. I know a lot of his movies are like the out-of-print DVD ones. They go for fucking stupid money, man. Absolutely stupid money. As to why, and one more thing on Bloody Moon, as to why this was on the Nasties list, I definitely think it was for the saw scene. Like, I think if it wasn't for that saw scene, it wouldn't even be on the list. Like, it's not really overly gratuitously gory, but I don't know. I really have a soft spot for this one. I just maybe because I have a soft spot for Jess Franco. I don't know. But it's funny, even though this is one of the oddballs in his filmography, this is a film that I feel like even people that aren't big Jess Franco fans have seen. Like, this is definitely a more watched movie in his catalog, which is funny because he didn't really want to make it. Like, it's actually weird, like, how that happens. But I don't know. It goes to show you that slashers sell way more. You know, that is what it is. Halloween 2021 will kick ass and no virus. Ooh, all right. I don't know. Halloween kills, man. I'm not excited for it, to be honest. But Halloween, the holiday 2021, I'm excited. It's on a Sunday this year, so I'm really excited. I'm going to watch a bunch of movies. I have a bunch of fun October, festivities planned. I don't know if how many people are in the house right now, but I was thinking of doing a thing where I have people read scary stories to tell in the dark, which were these trilogy of books, of course, written by Alvin Schwartz, and then the illustrations were done by Stephen Gammell. They are fucking great, in my opinion. And I've been listening to the audiobooks and reading them every night, and I really like them. I was figuring I'd have people like pick a story each and record them, and I maybe do one big video or release one of the stories at night or whatever. I wanted to do something like that for October. If anybody's interested, definitely let me know. That's something I would like to do. I'm going to record a couple myself, and I've already contacted some people that were interested. So that should be a fun, like, kind of thing to do for October. Fun to get in the spooky vibes, if you will. Always a really fun thing to do. But moving on into the next film here, this is from 1979. This is, and I will come out right here and say this is probably one of the last films I've seen in recent memory that absolutely scared the shit out of me. I don't even know if I could explain why, but this movie just fucking scared the shit out of me. I don't even know how to explain it, but this is Joseph Ellison's film from 1979. This is Don't Go in the House. Yes, Don't Go in the House, which, of course, the Video Nasties, they had all of these things where, whether it be films that start with cannibal or films that start with don't. Of course, there's Don't Go in the House. There's Don't Go Near the Park, which is a fucking piece of shit. Although we do love Linnea Quigley. Thanks for the shout out, by the way, Linnea. Of course, Don't Look in the Basement. Don't Go in the Woods. And then, of course, Don't Go in the House, which probably of those Don't movies is probably my favorite when it comes to the nasty list. Of course, I love Don't Torture a Duckling, but that's not on the nasties list. But I'll give a brief plot synopsis here. A disturbed young man, played by Dan Grimaldi, of course, Patsy from The Sopranos, who was burned as a child by his sadistic mother, stalks women with a flamethrower. Yes, don't go in the house. Don't go in the house. Now, I first watched this movie thinking nothing of it. I was like, I don't think I'm gonna really care for this, but it's a nasties movie, it's a don't movie, it's all these things. I kind of like the poster. Let me give this a shot. Why not? To say I was kind of blown away by it would be an understatement of the year. The film opens up with Dan Grimaldi's character, and he works in this like kind of industrial factory, and there's this crazy accident right at the beginning of the movie where one of his coworkers, he's burned alive, and all these people rush to save him except Dan Grimaldi. He doesn't go to do anything about it. And he gets ridiculed for that by his boss. Why didn't you come to save him? What the fuck is wrong with you? He's basically an oddball. And we get these kind of flashbacks into the early part of his life and his childhood where his mother was super abusive to him, and she would hold his wrists and arms over the stove cover and just burning his arms alive. And they have these great special effects where you see skin almost melting, dripping off of him. Really impactful stuff. And for some reason, completely scared the shit out of me from the get-go. I was like, oh my God, like, fuck, like we're fucking 10 minutes in and we're going there. Like, Jesus Christ, of burning a kid's arms over a stove. Okay, I can see some nastiness to that. Of course, we're led to believe this guy is an oddball, but every now and again he gets lucky, picks up a woman, and one night he brings a woman home, and he kind of creates this room that acts as though like an incinerator. And what he does is he knocks these women out and he chains them like this, like arms up, and he chains them to these like chains, and then basically breaks out a flamethrower and a fucking hazmat suit and torches one. And it's fucking so realistic looking. It's actually insane. In fact, Joseph Ellison on the set of this, when they were filming it, he was looking through the camera lens, of course, as a director would do. He was looking through the camera lens, and he was like, fuck. He was like, that actually looks too good. Like, this is too good of a special effect right here. And when you have that, man, and no fucking people are harmed, you know you've got a great special effect. And I think this movie really does have great special effects. I really like that scene. And how they did it was, I thought was really smart. They had the flamethrower here and like a prism here, almost like a mirror effect, and then the woman on the other side of the prism. So when they burned, it almost gave the mirroring effect of this woman burning alive. And as she screams and cries and yells, once again, when I was watching it, I was like, oh my God, like one of those where I'm just like, holy shit. Like if I go to cover my eyes, you fucking know that you've done something well. And this movie, it's brutal in that way. And I think that scene alone is why this movie's on the nasties list. And I definitely can see, like, I mean, it's a fucking brutal scene. And from there on out, though, I do think the thing with this movie is, from there on out, the violence, the kills, all that stuff is very suggestive. Like, we see how it's done, and then he does it to a few more people throughout the film, but it's really much where they play on the person's screams and cries before they die. And it's fucking haunting, man. There's one scene where he's in this nightclub, and this woman, he's trying to hit on this woman, and he accidentally sets her face on fire. Like he has this like candle or whatever, and he gets like shooken up and sets her face on fire. And this fucking whole woman, like the side of her face is just completely burned. They put her out. And then I don't know why this line got to me, but her brother comes over and starts beating the shit out of Dan Grimaldi. He's like, your fucking face is going to be fucked up for life, you motherfucker, like yelling at him. And I was just like, oh my God, he's right. Like, that bitch's face is fucked. Like, she's never going to get anybody again, man. Like, she's a burn victim for the rest of her life just because this fucking weird guy in a nightclub set her on fire. And even that got under my skin. I don't know what it is about this movie, but it fucking scares me. There's a really good use of atmosphere, and I think what the best thing about this movie is its aesthetic. Now, you would think a film where a flamethrower is used as the main weapon, this is going to be a film with a red look or an orangey look, even maybe that yellow look. This film doesn't have any of that. This film has a very blue tint to it. It's funny, we're a movie where you have people being burned alive in a fucking incinerator room. It almost feels like the rest of the movie was filmed in a fucking refrigerator. Like it has this blue tint throughout the entire rest of the movie. And a lot of movies did that at this time, of course, Mad Men being one of them, Halloween being one of them, where it looks like it's shot through that kind of blue scope, The Thing, that classic like Dean Cundy look. And of course, this was from cinematographer, I believe, Oliver Platt, I believe, who went on to do like the Bourne Ultimatum movies. And he had done some really, really good stuff before this. But I definitely think the cinematography stands out in this movie, considering how low budget it was, considering that most of the movie does take place in this guy's house. It's such a cold film. It's very uncomfortable movie to watch. And, you know, this is not a film where I'd ever watch with a group of friends. Like, this is one of those movies you should watch by yourself really late at night in the dark, and it'll fucking blow you away. At least it blew me away. I remember the first time I watched it, that was the exact setting. It was late one night. I couldn't sleep. This is back when I was on my security schedule and, you know, working nights and getting home at bizarre hours, going to bed at fucking 2 p.m. in the afternoon. You know, that's how fucked up my hours were. But it was always a good time to put a horror movie on at fucking whatever 4 a.m. in the morning and watch something that's going to scare the shit out of me. And this was really a movie that did that. I really like there's scenes where some of his victims sort of like haunt him in vain to how his mother would torture him. And you see that these like kind of corpses with burned faces and burned limbs and all this shit trying to scare him. It's similar in a lot of ways to Maniac. However, what people don't realize, this came out before Maniac. This was actually filmed and released in certain countries in 1979. It didn't get his main USA release until 1980, where, funny enough, it was released, I think, a few weeks before the original Friday the 13th. Now, I bring this up because I think there's a great story to be told about the director, Joseph Ellison. Joseph Ellison said, fuck it, let me go to the movies. My movie, the movie that I directed, it's in the cinema right now. Let me go see it with a crowd. And I know so many directors have done this, and not special effects guys. You always hear Savini. When I go to a screening, I pick somebody out of the crowd to watch. You always hear that, or a guy like Romero, or, you know, Craven going to a screening and trying to watch the people more than the film. He walked in and he saw the Friday the 13th was playing on the other screen. It was a 2-theater theater, and the left theater was playing Friday the 13th. The right theater was playing Don't Go in the House. He goes into the Friday the 13th theater first screening, and everybody is having a ball. Popcorn's flying in the air. People grabbing onto each other. People having a good time, yelling at the characters. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Having a good old time in the cinema. And that's what Friday the 13th delivers. And obviously, you know the franchise that went on to sell and how good of a marketplace that film sells. I mean, it's just a good date movie. It's a good time to, you know, go to a theater and watch a movie. It's a fun theater movie. He leaves that theater and, okay, so this is going on here. What about my movie? He goes into the theater of Don't Go in the House, and he said you could hear a pin drop. And it's the absolute differences of horror marketing. And even though you have both films where people are victims and there is a killer, there could still be such different mediums when it comes to delivering a horror film. Friday the 13th is entertaining, exciting, and you know, sleazy and good for the whole family. Don't Go in the House, it's really meant to be, I think, meant to be watched alone. I wouldn't watch this with a group of people. It's just, it wouldn't be as effective. It's more scary and creepy on its two legs if you watch this alone in the dark. And then it really, really works. But I think it's funny because the director kind of looked and like getting hands-on research of, you know, this demographic versus this demographic. And not to say that one theater was more packed than the other. They were both packed. He said it was just, he realized that he had not made a mistake. I mean, he still made a great film. But I think the brilliance is he realized that's what's drawing. That's what's selling. And I made this. So in sad fashion, he really didn't get to go on to direct much. He made one other film called Joey. It looks like it's like an independent art film. I've not seen it. I can't really give my 2 cents on it, but it's a crying shame because this is a guy that made a really, really good film. And, you know, for what it's worth, it just didn't draw. He said the films, the film critics that gave it a good review, you could count on one hand, and the people that just absolutely loathed it, he said that was pretty much every other fucking person. Every other person told him he made a piece of shit trash and oh, it's too similar to Psycho. And I understand that the themes to Psycho are there, but there are so many movies that do that, whether it be Schoolgirls in Chains, which I talked about a couple weeks ago, whether it be this, even whether it be Friday the 13th with the whole let's switch it. The mother's the killer and the son is the one that died. Like I get it. That theme is fun to do. It's fun to fucking rip off Psycho. I get it. But I definitely think that this movie is scary. And I think that's what keeps me coming back to it. I don't own this one. I know there's a Blu-ray. I believe it goes for quite a bit of money, like $50 or so. I'm going to wait till that goes down a little bit, or it would be really cool. I'm not sure if they got Dan Grimaldi to do an interview on that Blu-ray. I would love to see Dan Grimaldi discuss this film. I think that interview is somewhere. I feel like I've watched it in the past, but I didn't get a chance to for show prep this week. Now, I will say, Dan Grimaldi, I really like the actor. Of course, I said before, he's Patsy on The Sopranos. But in this film, I can't decide whether I like his performance or if I don't. It's a very odd performance. Like, okay, he plays the oddball well, but it's almost like, I don't know, it points his acting is a little weak. And I know this was earlier in his career, so maybe he just hadn't figured everything out yet. I don't know. I can never decide. Like every time I watch it, I go, oh, that was a good scene. And I'm just like, oh, but I don't think Dan Grimaldi was as good there. It's definitely no Joe Spinell in Maniac. It's no Christian Bale in American Psycho. It's not a performance as good as those to me. I think there's so many better, like crazy killer performances for me. But that's not to say it's not interesting to see Dan Grimaldi as the lead. And he also has this friend from the factory in this movie that's trying to add as the heart to this film. He's trying to have his back, even though he knows he's weird. He knows he's the outcast, but he's got his friend's back. That's kind of the character they draw. And he's there towards the end when the finale goes down. And, I don't know. I appreciate that. And I think the finale of this, it's funny. It's very much like Maniac. He has this kind of hallucination of being pulled apart by all these women that he's tortured and burned and murdered. And instead of being in the bed, he's on the beach. It's like this really cool shot on the beach where he steps up this ledge and gets dragged back down. And they play this like great, synth score. I mean, great shit where you're like, oh shit, get the fuck out of there. Too late, really, I think a really scary movie, a really effective horror movie, and one that, you learn a lot about, because again, there's two different types of horror. There's horror that's going to sell to a mass market, and then there's good, effective horror, but there's not really a big mainstream audience for this type of movie. Maniac has its fans. Maniac gets its due. Maybe not at the time, but now Maniac gets its due. This movie, for some reason, still doesn't. And that's why I wanted to really discuss it on the show here tonight. All three of these movies. I think all three of these movies deserve a little bit more of a fan base. Cannibal Man and Don't Go in the House, especially. Definitely. It's funny, of these three, those are probably the two most underseen. And I think Bloody Moon, while I like Bloody Moon, it's definitely, I would say, the weakest of these three. Not putting the film down. I like the film. But it just goes to show you that, video nasties, there's so many notorious video nasties. And, the first and the third one I talked about here tonight, they're just not. They're not as notorious as an I Spit on Your Grave or a Last House on the Left or an Evil Dead or, numerous titles more. There's notorious nasties, and then there's nasties that people kind of forget about. And, this show, I really wanted to talk about more about the ones that people forget about, because in my first show, I know that got a lot of views, like close to 4,000 views. And thank you for everybody who viewed that, But I thought it'd be more fun to talk about lesser talked about ones and ones that people don't give enough credit for, I think. John Steele's in the house, the granddaddy of watching video nasties, pajama pants player, John Grande. John Steele, dude, good to have you on the show tonight. I got to go. Bye for now. James Moss is out of the heezy. Dude, thank you for stopping by. Appreciate it. John Steele, hell yeah. Got to love John Steele. I've seen Bloody Moon. Yeah, no, Bloody Moon, always interesting to see a Jess Franco join and to see Jess Franco talk slashers, to do a slasher movie. Really cool stuff, I think. I don't know. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I thought this was a really cool kind of, different animal for Jess Franco to try to tackle. And I think he tackled it pretty damn well, personally. And then, of course, Cannibal Man. I know John Steele loves Severn like me. I have this really cool edition. I know there was Yitties on the back, so I don't want to show those. But that's the VHS cover. Really cool stuff. Yeah. So that was all three video nasties I wanted to cover tonight. Really fun show as always. I really like discussing video nasties, and I can definitely do more of these. I mean, there's so many nasties that I haven't gotten a chance to talk to, whether it be Flesh for Frankenstein. There's so many that I think are super underrated. I Fight for Your Life, which I don't know, that would be tough to discuss, but I think it's a really, really good exploitation film. It's just very not politically correct. So, I mean, that would be a tough one to review. I did do a show on They Call Her One Eye, even though it's not a nasty. But there's plenty. Butcher Baker, Nightmare Maker. I think that would be a fun one to discuss. Of course, Don't Go in the Basement, which I think I have discussed maybe in the past. I'm not sure. But there's a ton of, really cool one. Jess Franco's like Spanish Hammer horror. Yeah, of course. The Christopher Lee joints he made after this. Of course, working with Christopher Lee. And I think it's funny that like you'll be lucky in a Jess Franco film and some of those Dracula films to see even a line when somebody gets their throat cut. That guy just didn't care for gore. He was definitely more of Spanish horror, hammer, sleaze. When I think Jess Franco, I think Euro sleaze. I think fucking Yiddies when I think Jess Franco. I think of Eugenie, women in prison. I think of fucking all that shit, vampire lesbos, as I said before. That's really the things that come to my mind when I think Jess Franco. And he's sorely missed. I really like Jess Franco. I wish there were more filmmakers like him, like that just embraced the B movie or embraced the C movie. Even so, like I don't know, I always really appreciated that about Jess Franco. But yeah, that was all three films. If I had to rate Don't Go in the House, I don't own it, I know. I'm gonna come in with a solid 8.5 out of 10. It's another one I really thoroughly like personally. I think Don't Go in the House is an excellent little film. Scantily clad buxom ladies, yo, hell yeah, man, gotta love it. He made one movie. Now I want to get this woman's name, just because I thought she was fucking beautiful and she died so young. I was doing show prep and I was like, oh my God, I would love to see this movie. Bear with me here. This is loading in. It's funny, for Bloody Moon, he went under the pseudonym of Jesus Franco. So I don't know if it was a thing where he wasn't really proud of making Bloody Moon, but I don't know. I thoroughly enjoyed it personally. I don't think it was something to be ashamed of. If anything, I really liked Jess Franco giving that a shot, that type of movie a shot. Let's see. What the fuck was it called? Made a really cool like sleaze movie that I really wanted to see that I've not seen. Going down the list here. Jess Franco, by the way, directed 207 fucking movies. Isn't that insane? It concluded with Revenge of the Alligator Ladies. Gotta love it, man. Let's see. What a filmography this guy fucking had. My God. If there's somebody that owns all Jess Franco's films, I would love to meet who you are. Like, I feel like it would be one of the craziest fucking collections to have all of his movies. That's 207 titles. Dracula, Prisoner of Frankenstein. I've seen that movie. Let's see. Nightmares Come at Night. Bloody Judge. Eugenie I've seen. That's a really good movie too. Kiss Me Monster. The Devil King. Where the heck is Vampire Lesbos? Count Dracula, which that's probably one of his more famous movies. 99 Women. Where is the movie I was looking for here? He made... Wow, this is crazy amount of fucking movies this guy made. It's actually absurd. Secret Diary. What is this? A Virgin Among the Dead? Dude, that's a great title, man. What's this one? See, it's funny. Sometimes it's fun to just go into Jess Franco's filmography and just look at the titles and just laugh your fucking ass off, man. Like, always. Okay, this is it. She Killed in Ecstasy. This was the one. I've not seen this, but this looks like an awesome fucking movie. The fucking DVD goes for like $200. It's out of print DVD. Man, I want this. Like, this looks like the coolest movie. I love the poster of this. She Killed in Ecstasy. Soledad Moran. I don't know how to say that damn name. Soledad Miranda. Okay, Soledad Miranda. She was the lead. She died really young. This is the woman that really caught my eye. Beautiful woman. After a doctor commits suicide when his research into human embryos is terminated, his wife seduces and then executes revenge upon those she holds responsible. Hell yeah. Jess fucking Franco for life. Virgin Among the Dead. Yeah, no. The one I want to see is She Killed in Ecstasy, but yeah, no, A Virgin Among the Living Dead. That's fucking awesome title too. Jess Franco was a fucking absolute maniac, man. But another thing about him and another thing about filmmakers like that, yeah, Soledad Miranda is dope. I agree with that completely. I think she's a beautiful fucking woman. Such a shame she died so young because she's gorgeous. And I believe she died in like a car accident. So rest in peace. That's really, really sad. The thing about Jess Franco that I appreciate, especially, and a lot of Italian directors too. I know Jess Franco's from Spain, but they always casted like beautiful looking leads that just stood out. Even the lead in Bloody Moon, I thought she was a big standout. It's funny, she'd come from that world of porn and all that, and she told them the first day on set, "I'm not getting naked in this movie, or I'll leave right now." And he was like, "Well, that's good news, because they have this thing in America called the final girl, and you're supposed to be prude, so I won't make you get naked." Well, probably the only time Jess Franco shot down nudity, but he told her, he said, "No, don't worry about it." She was like, "I'm recently married. I don't want to do that anymore, Jess. I'm sorry." And of course, Jess Franco was like, "Yeah, fuck that shit. Like, it's fine. Like, don't worry about it. You're the final girl anyway. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing making the slasher movie, with all this crazy disco scenes and stuff, but I don't know. This is just an oddball. I think that's why I really always like watching this, because I'm just like, I know the fucking guy behind it probably didn't want to make it, but damn, he did a pretty decent job. So I don't know. Very cool. That was her stage name. Oh yeah, what was her real name? We can check this girl out. I didn't go as long as usual on the graveyard here tonight, but I'll check this girl out. Soledad Moran. She died at age 27. That's sad. Yo, she died August 18th of 1970. That's sad. That's like the anniversary of her death almost. She was in 38 films. She Killed in Ecstasy was one of her last movies, but she worked with Jess Franco a lot. I can see on here. Count Dracula she was in, of course. Just a beautiful woman, like just eyes that like are really hypnotizing, really good looking. Yeah, I believe she died in a car accident. Really sad stuff. She had just had married and just had a kid too, and then passed away. Soledad Bueno. Hell yeah, man. Absolutely. Good looking woman. Shame, absolute shame she died so young, but definitely I'd like to collect some more of Jess Franco's movies, Vampires Lesbos being one of them. That's one I should definitely pick up one of these days. But yeah, I don't know if anybody wants to talk about anything else on here. I'm sorry if I didn't go as long as usual, but I don't know. I always like talking nasties and shooting the shit. I guess I didn't interact with the comments as much as usual either, but I don't know. It was definitely fun to discuss all these video nasties. Oh yeah. By the way, and like I said at the beginning, anybody who doesn't own this, man, you should really pick this up. This is a fantastic documentary, 3-disc set, really good stuff, 14 hours of horror entertainment. And it'll teach you so much stuff about the nasties. It really does. Like it's a fantastic guide through each and every one of them. And I always really liked the short anecdotes that go with a lot of these movies of filmmakers that never expected to be on here. Jess Franco, probably never should have even been featured on a Video Nasties list because he didn't like gore. And that was their main beef, and whereas Jess Franco's thing was, I want to show sleaze, and it makes no sense. But of course, the 2 times he did decide to show gore, they were, prosecute that man. So they went ahead and did that. Deodato, it makes sense. Of course, Argento, it makes sense. Fulci, it makes sense. All these guys, the directors that are on this list, a lot of them make sense. Jess Franco, it just doesn't. You're like, why is there 2 Jess Franco Video Nasties? It makes no sense. Unless the Video Nasties had something against fucking pornography. I don't know. Mark's in the house. It'll be your birthday present. Oh, dude, I'll return the favor. I'll get you some Spider-Man shit for sure, man. By the way, I'm still playing that Spider-Man game. It is fucking fantastic. I just did the Black Cat side mission to get the different suit. Really, really cool stuff. I love that game. I really like how they introduced Miles Morales, too. We need a slasher movie where Vince Russo hunts down all the members of the Midnight Express. Oh, my God. John Perner's in the house, all elite, rocking on. What's going on, good brother? Could you imagine that? Bro, and then for the finale, I am revealed as the killer, bro. And I have this baseball bat in hand, and I'm about to strike down James E. Cornette, bro. That would be fucking horrible. And it's funny too, because Vince Russo came from the world of I believe he worked in a video store. And that's where all of his wacky wrestling ideas pretty much came from, was from B movies. And there's an audience of people that like that, and you would think I would, because I like a lot of B movies, but I don't know. It doesn't translate over to wrestling very well. Like there's something about She Killed in Ecstasy that doesn't fucking translate over to fucking wrestling. Like, at least to me. I mean, revenge and wrestling and stuff, I don't know. That's just me. Bro, question mark? Question mark. I don't know. What's your question? I don't know. I don't know, Mr. Mark. I'm talking about, what was the last thing? The fucking Spider-Man game being awesome. I said that. I don't know if you heard everything I said. I did the Black Cat side mission where you take all the pictures that she puts around town, Like she leaves you all these clues, and then you go to her secret hideout and you unlock this brand new suit. Really cool. Like, and there's also like this separate DLC pack where you fucking, it's called The Heist with the Black Cat. I'm a big Spider-Man fan, so anything with that, and Felicia Hardy, I love the Black Cat character, so I'm excited to get into that. When I'm done with the main story, I'm going to move on into the Black Cat DLC. I'm really excited about that. And the voice actress they have to play her is great too. I don't know who it is, but she does a great job. I was really excited to like get into that. I was like, dude, I want to get into this right fucking now. Like, I think this would be absolutely awesome. Never played any of the DLC. Bro, highly recommend. I downloaded them all. The Turf Wars, where the lead villain's the Hammerhead, which honestly, I don't like the design they used. I will say that one. I'm just like, eh. But I'm excited to play the main story too. Like, I want to fight Scorpion. I'm super excited. I don't know if Kraven will show up in any of the DLCs or even in the main story, but I would love to fight Kraven the Hunter. I think this is an underrated Spider-Man villain. Just really cool stuff. I'm excited to play more of that game. It's been really fun. I've been playing it like every day when I get home from work, like for an hour at least. I play that for an hour and then I have my dinner. So I definitely want to get more into that game. I'm really enjoying it. Thank you for letting me, try it out at your house last week. We had a fun bro night. And I know you had a crazy ass date the following day, man. Holy shit. We won't go into details about that, but that was some funny shit. I was like, oh my God, this poor motherfucker. We also watched that episode of Doctor Who where it was like all the people on the on the spaceship, and that was some trippy shit too. That was really good though. Definitely a fun time. Erica Lindbeck is the voice. Okay, Erica Lindbeck. I don't know if I know her from anything else, but I definitely think she did a good job. I was like, oh yeah, this is totally Black Cat. But yeah, so unless anybody, wasn't a date. Okay, Mark wants to specify this was not a date. I understand, Mr. Mark. Now I understand. So it is what it is. But all right, if nobody wants to talk about anything else, I guess we will call this a show. I want to thank everybody for joining me tonight on the Graveyard. This was always a fun time talking all things video nasties. Really, really fun stuff. I highly recommend these 3 movies that I talked about here tonight. And I believe you can watch them for free anywhere. Like I think Cannibal Man and Don't Go in the House are on Amazon Prime for free, and I believe that Bloody Moon's on Tubi. So that's really, really cool. Really, really cool stuff. So everybody, let me know if you guys watch those movies. Let me know what you think. And next week, I'm not positive as to what we're going to do yet. We're either going to do a Ju-on the Grudge episode where I discuss the original 4 feature-length Ju-on the Grudge movies, of course, from Japan, or I was thinking of possibly doing a commentary. I don't know which film yet. I was thinking maybe Madman, just because it's the fall. And to me, like when I think of great fall slashers, Madman's the one that comes to mind. So I feel like that'd be a fun show to do a commentary for, or a movie to do a commentary for. So I'll definitely keep you all in the loop about that, but that will be a to be decided. So we will catch you next time. Everybody, cheers to the 4-day weekend. Cheers, got the dew. You always got to drink the dew here. Cheers, everybody. We will catch you next time only on the Graveyard. 2 sweet peace, and we'll catch you next time.